And we are live. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to you, Waniki, and to everybody else. Good
Yes.
morning,
Good morning, y'all. I got me some tea this morning. Some lavender chamomile.
T.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it smells so good.
Yeah, that sounds very calming and soothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it does.
Awesome.
How's your morning? How's your weeks? We didn't record last week.
Yeah. My morning was great. I got up early than usual.
Mhm.
Took care of some things. I've been practicing this kind of morning routine or ritual, whichever one you want to call it. So I've been doing it every morning for about a couple of weeks, I say, and it has definitely created some results that I definitely am excited about.
I
So
love.
I love you know how we always talk about like having soft mornings,
Yeah.
like having slow mornings, soft mornings.
Yep.
Like,
Like
and
them.
it really works for me. It might not be for everybody, right? But for me, I really love just taking my time,
Yeah.
reading or writing or whatever, like setting my day up or my week up or whatever that looks like. But it just produces like these really amazing days. Like my days are like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, dang, that happened today, right? Like, wow, that's great, and I did it, and so yeah, my morning was good. I'll just say that. It's
I
good.
love that. Well, mine has
Right.
ooh, mine's is crazy. Mine has been it's been good. I woke up early. Oh, you know what? I spent a longer time in the garden this morning. So it was like maybe like 6. And that felt good to do. And I was a little nervous about my watermelon because last year was just an epic fail. I tried to like buy one that had already been potted and then transfer it. Mind you, that was my very first time ever doing a garden, so nothing ever came of that. And so this year I was like, I'm gonna just do what I saw my neighbor do last year. I'm gonna plant it along the gate because then it just kind of grew up around, around that area. So I'm like, I'm gonna do that since he didn't do it this year and hope for the best. And today I was like, now the weeds around there grow wet crazy. So today this morning I was like, let me just pull it up. Let me see. Cause I have been looking. And I saw everything else in my garden on the other side, like, flourishing. And I'm like, where is it? It has to work. And I saw them. Not the watermelon, but it's actually sprouted. And I saw it and I'm like, let me get these weeds up. And it was just like, I might have watermelons this summer. That was a good thing
Yay!
to realize. I
That's
don't
great.
know, fingers crossed, but this was a win. This was further than last year for sure. So I'm everything after this is all profit. It's all win. It's
That's
all
great. You're finding, it takes practice, right?
yeah.
It takes practice, and this is perfect. It segues into like what we're talking about today, right? And let me just get it. But it takes practice. You might not, you do it once, it might not work. You got to try something new the next time. But you got to consistently, continue to push the ball forward. It might not look like what you think it looks like, but there is movement happening. So that's why today we're talking about the power of choosing yourself again and again,
Mm-hmm.
especially when returning to self, after betrayal or burnout or being overlooked are three things that came up
Mm-hmm.
for me today. But that kind of goes into what you were talking about, like when you plant a seed, it might not come out the first time you plant it. You might have to plant it again. And you might have to do all of these to continue to choose yourself. And you know, it might not like turn out the way you wanted to turn out, right? You might, you know, like choose a partnership that doesn't work. And you know about this, right? Like, you know, you might choose a partner in business and that might not work, you know, and it'll make you sit down and kind of look at it again, but don't stop because of that. You know, so how do you do that? So like, what are some, when I said that, you know, what are some things that came up for you? Just, you know, continuing to choose yourself, right? Over and over again and again.
It makes me think about like the beginning part of my journey into entrepreneurship. And I say entrepreneurship because even though like entrepreneurship and choosing myself are two different things, this was like seeds that were planted. And so when I was still teaching and I knew I was going to leave after that year, I told myself, I'm like, I know this journey is about to be hard. So I probably should like really start to prep my mind now. You know, I have a sports background. And so like mindset and speaking life into yourself and getting back up and trying it again. That's just kind of what's drilled in you in sports, you know, organized sports at least. That's literally practice. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. The definition of insanity, like these were all things that I got from sports, you know. And then when I knew I was transitioning to entrepreneurship, I'm like, I got to just make sure my mind is right. I had been in the military by that time, so everything mentally for me, I knew it was going to be mental. And so I just started like watching interviews, and I still do it. I don't watch a whole lot of TV these days, but I do watch interviews of people who like careers I like and I follow. And I started with Oprah and then Will Smith and then Michael Jordan. And then, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going through learning their mindset, their business mindset, their principles. But I mean, it kind of just all came back to the same thing. And especially Oprah, she's been talking about the same things about self forever. Like that's been her message. And once I realized it, I'm like, oh my God. But in the beginning, like, so planting those seeds itself, like, even though I didn't know I was going to need it for the future, I was planting those seeds because I thought I was studying like a business mindset. And so I just thought that this was what you're supposed to do. It's going to get hard. You got to figure it out. You got to keep coming back to yourself. You got to choose. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's just really, I think just planting those seeds with a completely different focus in mind, but it really is just like ingrained in me to do. So it's not a question for me. So for me, it's like the frustration becomes when I know I have to make a hard decision because I got to choose myself or I got to do this. And I don't know the next step, but I know I got to make this decision. You know what I mean? Like that's where it becomes more frustrating for me because I know I got to do it. I just got to do it, you know?
So what I'm hearing is like, so your life kind of set you up.
It seems that way.
Right? Like
it does seem that way when I say it.
Right. Like your life has set you up to get here, right? And now it's uncertain, right? Like there's so many, and this is just perfect, right? Because I think most entrepreneurs get to this point. And it's funny we're talking about this because like I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, I talk to leaders, I talk to people that work in community a lot. And, you know, I think that this is kind of the area where people split off, you know, like I think for a lot of folks, you know, when you don't do the internal work, right, like that work that we all have to do internally, or you don't have to, you know, you're choosing to do that work, right? Yeah. But that when you do that internal work, it produces or creates something in life that that is it is never before seen. Like I think what we're talking about is transformation, and And for a lot of the world that we see out here, it's a very surface orientated, like that kind of work, the internal work that really does go in, you know, it coincides with entrepreneurship, especially. And I find that a lot of entrepreneurs do that work. So you, now that you're here and the uncertainty is kind of like, and I'm kind of going through the same thing, kind of, sort of.
Huh.
I think I've actually gotten over the uncertainty hump a little bit, just because it continues. I'm continuing to do the work. Like since I'm continuing to do the work on me, and there is some things that I don't like. There is some uncertainty, but I've now let go around it, because like I've been doing it for a while and it's been uncertain. You know what I mean? Like I have to be like, well, Vanessa, like, you've been doing so I understand where you're at, like in that space. So how do you keep on going? Like what keeps you being in the work of like the uncertainty?
Easy faith. And I'm gonna tell you, God, I'm gonna tell you, like I'm just looking at everything that's happening right now, like with the fundraiser, just seeing how, things are just flowing to me. And this wasn't even a thing. Like I just got to start with this fundraiser, as I'm fundraising to for this pipeline that I'm creating between the college and the high school. I'm thinking like, don't sleep on Chicago kids, right? I've been saying this, but it started a couple of years ago. Like the concept of the visual really was just to shoot a video for Black Friday. Like literally it was it was the summertime, 2 years ago. So around this time, summertime, I need to check all my dates. And I was just like, we got to shoot a video for don't sleep on Chicago kids for Black Friday. That's when people spend the most money. You know what I mean? And so we just got to shoot a video. So I called my cousin and she had just written a book and she was writing her second one. And I'm like, would you mind like writing just a quick little blurb of your life? It doesn't have to be super long. It just has to be long enough for like a 30 to 60-second video. And then can we shoot it? And she was just like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. I came by myself. I had my camera, had my soundboard, and literally I'm like, and it was just supposed to be her at first, and then I forgot a piece to my soundboard, which I never do. And so but luckily I had another piece, but I never used it before. So I was like, oh shit, here we go. So I'm like learning as I go. But it caused me to also have to go to the kitchen to listen, and while they recorded in a completely different room, which I had never done, because the plan was for us to just be face to face. But because I left that piece, I had to do it another way. And so literally she was she read through it, and we was just working through it because she was nervous. We was trying to get the tempo, all those things. And I'm like, okay, cool. And her daughters happened to be there. They were never supposed to be a part of it, but they happened to be there. And we was like, what if we just got them to read, so then they just came and we just got curious. So they came down, they was with it. And literally, because I'm in this other room and I can't really see what's going on, all I could do is hear like the voices. And I'm just like, it just started giving me chills, and it made me really emotional, because I'm just like, wow, it's her daughters like reading her this particular part of her life, like this version, and how powerful is that, through the generations, just all of these things. Long story short, what I realized in that moment was, I'm like, this is not a Black Friday video to sell a hoodie. I'm like, I don't really know what this is, I was saying to myself, but I know it's something else. Long story short, a whole lot of stuff happened in that year. I ended up not finishing the video because clearly the footage I captured was just trash. It was trash because I shot it and I'm not a videographer. The sound was good, but the footage was trash. But I didn't know what I wanted to do with it anyway, and I was going through, the like that rocky period with my business partner and us figuring out if we were going to continue on. So it was just a lot happening. Fast forward, end up moving forward by myself the following year. So a full year. And I just am like, I need to complete this. Like, I just got to finish it. I don't know like what I'm gonna do with it, but I gotta finish it. Like it just started pulling at me. And so you complete what you start. That was a very big lesson. And so I just called her back. Mind you, this is a year later. I'm like, listen, I want to finish this video. I know, we shot it already, but I don't like the footage. Can I bring my videographer and you won't have to do the audio part again? Because I know you hated it. The sound is cool, but I just need to shoot you, again. And so she was down for it, so I came. And her daughters, again, were not supposed to be there. So her youngest daughter that ended up being in the video just happened to come home while we were shooting. And so she just happened again to just be a part of that moment. And then that video, once we actually finished it this time, which took all of a week after we got the footage from a whole freaking year, something that really just took a week, right? We finished it, and then I meet day of mine, maybe like a month or so later, and then boom, it gets into Trinity's hands. They love it. They're trying to figure out how we can work together, write me in a grant. We don't get the grant. And then we fast forward to now, and this is the working relationship we're building, all based on that story. That one story. You get what I'm saying? And so it's like this part of it was scaring me because I was watching it just all come together, and it just was blowing my mind because I'm like, this is why I always tell people I know God is real, because this was never my vision. My vision was to sell freaking hoodies for Black Friday holiday. You know what I'm saying? It was never a dual enrollment program or a curriculum or anything like that. And surely nothing like this, And so I guess I say that to say it was starting to make me really nervous. So now you fast forward and I meet this older lady within like the last year. And I just finished hosting her event yesterday, me and Miracle, my mentee. But she hit me up to ask me if I would host, the event. She loved us from last year and she wanted us to be a part of it. And we just have been kind of building a really good relationship. And she was saying to me a couple of weeks ago, she was like, you just need to partner with God. And that's what she just kept saying, like, partner with God, partner with God. And I'm thinking to myself, like, me and God locked in. In my head, I'm thinking to myself, we locked in. And then maybe just last week, it just kept coming in my head, like, partner with God. And I thought about it and I was like, no, we haven't been locked in, not for this next part. You know what I mean? And this is where the fear comes from, because the fear is, how am I going to do this? So now that I'm like back in line and on track in faith, I know that I don't have to have the answer for that. All I have to do is what I've been doing. And that's how I keep going, is when I'm reminded and brought back to God. And I know, like, all I have to do is what's within my power. And I know for sure that God is going to do the rest. Like July 18th is, if I ever needed proof before, it's that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I'm partnering with God. I have partnered with God. And I noticed that in the times when we were not in a good partnership, when I was doing something different, is when the fear and all the doubt and then all of those other things came in, So,
So wow, there was a lot in there. There was a lot that you shared.
I know.
And I want to unpack some of it because, like, I think that you gave a really great example of like the way, like, to be like, when you're really tapped into who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't have all the answers, mm-hmm. like how we see answers in this realm, right? Like, I think that humans need things to see sometimes in order, or felt, or some sort of something tactilely that humans need to confirm like they're on the right path. But what you're saying is that might not be the case. It might be other things, other feelings, other, like, discernment, you know what I mean, that is not of this plane of existence, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that for a lot of people, because I mean, it's so much in, like, like all of the folks that you talked about, right? Like, the Oprahs and the Michael Jordans and the Will Smiths and the people that have taken kind of this kind of way of living life,
Mm-hmm.
and they have proof, like, you know, that it actually does work, right? Like, and it does. But there's this other part that you said that I think is important, is that you have faith. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that's like trust. You
Mm-hmm.
know, those are the things that, you know, like patience, even though you didn't, like, I mean, for you to wait a year to
Yeah.
complete something in a week, so that takes patience, right? Like, I mean, you have to understand that you might not have all the parts in that moment, right? Like, and so, but you waited until it came back around. You know what I mean? And maybe not waited like what you think wait is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think when you say wait, it's like
Intentional.
you're like
You're
sitting in
not-
like
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
right? Like, no, not anxious wait,
Yeah.
but like kind of, you know, it's there, it's
Yeah.
important to you, and you know that you're gonna come back to that. That's something that it, in the moment when you heard it, when you're in that kitchen, you knew that there was something there,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
But you just, like, you let it go. You know, you didn't hold on to it. You weren't attached to it. It was something different, right? And so, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like all of those things that happened it was like a it's like a pathway that was
Being right
created,
before
right?
me.
Like,
It was
it's
that you
so
don't
awesome.
see when you're walking it. It's just only in reflection that I've been
Right,
looking back these last
right,
like
right.
week where I'm like, thoughts really do become things.
Yes, yes, yes. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it happen in the last week, like, instantly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, thinking something and then it happening.
Mhm.
Like, I'll give you an example. So my daughter, she ordered from Popeyes, and she's ordering from Popeyes, and she was like, "You want something?" I was like, "Do they got two wings? That's all I want. I just want two wings." And she was like, "Mama, they got these ones." I was like, "I don't want all that stuff that they put on the wings. I just want two wings. That's it. Nothing else." And I was like, "Well, I'll do some fries, but I won't eat them all. And I'll eat some of the biscuit. Maybe I'll take a bite. But I mean, that's it. I don't want to pop. I don't want none. I just want two wings." And so she's like, "Well, they got this 2-piece white or something, or 3-piece, or two. No, it was a 2-piece white." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So she orders it, and I get back. It comes back, and we get it. I open it, and they put 3 pieces in there, and it was 2 wings, a breast, and some fries, right? Now, and this is the funny part, is like the wings were fried perfectly. That breast was overcooked.
Mm.
I didn't even eat it. I took like 2 bites of it, and I was like, this is overcooked.
Mm-hmm.
And I ate some of the fries. I didn't eat all of them. So I got exactly what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I was like, that's what I asked for. I asked for 2
Yeah.
wings.
Yeah.
I got the 2 wings. And so, like, and even like, and you know, folks might think that that's just, you know, a coincidence, right? Like, oh, or else, no, it's not. It's not. That's not a coincidence. That's how powerful we are.
Hmm.
You know, we're that powerful, and even in the little things, you got to watch what you're saying. You know, like, one of my friends, she says try a lot. You know, and I was like, wow, I see why things don't work for you. You know,
Fine.
and she was like, what? I was like, because you're trying. You're not doing it. Like,
Oh.
just take the
Mm-hmm.
word try out of your vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take that out. Like, I took tired out of my vocabulary. I don't say tired. I don't say try. You know what I mean? I don't say those words, right? Because you get exactly what you put out into the world.
Yes.
Now, you want to know why things ain't happening for you? Because you keep on trying, you know? And look, that's how powerful this thing is. This, you know, we that's how powerful we are. Like, those are the things that create our world, is the words that come out of our mouth. And the things that we think, the thought,
Yeah.
oh, that creates the words that come out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's the practice, right? But I thought that was so cool. Like, I'm like, man, I got my 2 wings and my 3 or 4 little fries that I ate.
And
You
that's
know,
all you needed.
I'm telling you, man. Like, I mean, that's how powerful we are. So when I was hearing you say all of that and what you were able to create, and then that thing that was in the moment was like it was like a when there's that much agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So when you asked who you asked to come and help, and you didn't have the things that you needed, and then it created the conversation that ultimately is creating all of the work that you're doing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the challenging part for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Because it definitely was challenging, you know, in all of the different lives that I've had, right? Because I've
Yeah,
had
sure.
many different lives in this life. But talking about this current one, you know, like just allowing it to be what it is,
Yeah.
you know, and just stepping back away from it and kind of forgetting about it a little, you know.
Yes.
That is what manifestation is. And I think that we're too attached. If you're attached to something that
Yeah.
is, you know, like it holds you down, then that it's going to take a longer time, you know, or it might not ever happen. It's depending on how attached you are to it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm learning. I mean, that's what, you know, I'm getting, is, you know, like this kind of like just lay off of it. You know, you ain't got to think about it all the time.
You
You
don't.
know?
You just keep doing you. Because
Right.
I even got to this place where I was like, man, I'm in go season now. I gotta do this. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I just told myself this yesterday. I'm like, no, you just keep doing what you've been doing. It's enough. Like
Right.
literally, it's working. Why would you want to like we good? Like just
Right.
relax,
Well,
chill.
I think that we're in a society where doing all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right, is a misconception, right? Like, you really got to know. I know a lot of people who are like real powerful in that realm, right? Like, they're very high energy. They constantly have to be on the move and all the rest of that. And for some people, it does work for them. I think that for but at the same time, there has to be some sort of rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to stop and not be so in this kind of doing. But our society kind of paints people like, you know, if you're up to all this stuff. Like, I've had people say that to me, like, when do you sleep? I remember this one woman said that, she's like,
Right.
and I was like, I
Like
sleep
9
at night.
Yep.
And she was like, how do you get all the stuff you do done? And I'm just like, and I told her, I was like, well, if you have to ask me that question, then, you know, that you wouldn't get it if I told you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So just keep on believing what you want about what I
Mm-hmm.
do.
That's so true.
Because like literally am not a human doer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I have and when it comes up for me, when I see it coming, because I know what it looks like for me, I know what my mind does. Like it goes into this like spiral, like I gotta do this right now, and da 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 da, you know, like this. And I got an email this Friday from the city, and it was like, we need this information, you know, and I'm just like, well, I don't have it, but I'll get it for you by the early part of next week. You know what I mean? And I sat back from it and I thought about it, and I was like, what's the most realistic time frame you could get that to him, Vanessa? Right? Like, think about it. And I was like, I could probably get it to him by Tuesday night, Wednesday, like, right? But so but the way that I used to be, I'd be like, girl, look, phone freaking out. I gotta get this information. Oh yeah, they asked for it. They need it now. Blah, blah, blah. I would have gone down the spiral. And I just looked at it and I was just like, I was literally on it anyway. Like I had already, talked to whoever I needed to talk to, sent an email, you know what I mean? So it was already in motion. So that's the other part. It's like, I'm already doing the work. It's already in motion.
Already there, yeah.
Actually, for him to email me was just a confirmation. Really,
it's happening. It's here.
It's already in motion. Like
it's here.
It wasn't meant for me to get all freaked out. It was like, you are in the right. You're in the right timing. Everything's good. That's what I got from it. But I think it's the perspective shift that I had to do inside of myself.
Yep.
To show, it's like, Vanessa, you're safe. You're enough. Like I go through all of the check marks. It's like everything is good. Everything is more than good. Everything is great. And that's the thing. It's like that's what I end up doing for people. Like when people call me and they get into the, they're having all of these things happen. It's usually I'm literally telling folks, like, I'm listening to them. This is perfect because I wanted to share this. I was listening to one of my friends and I heard two things happen at the same time. So she was just sharing with me about her life and what she's going through. It's a lot of the same conversation that we have a lot of the time. And so my old way of being was like frustrated in the conversation. And that's how I knew it was old, because I got frustrated. And I was like, why am I getting frustrated right now? This ain't got nothing to do with me. This is her shit, right? But then but at the same time, I was like, okay, well, let's listen deeper, right? So I just listened to her, and she was just telling me, I was like, this girl is magnificent. I mean, even though she's going through all of this stuff, the girl's still on it. She's still making all the moves, making sure that she's talking to all the, like doing it's in motion, like it's in movement, and she still shows up for her people at the same time. So her friends graduating from, business school. So she's like, I'm going to go to my friend's graduation. She's doing all this stuff. I got my other friends got this thing going. I'm going to do that. Blah, blah, blah. So she's showing up for her people too. And so I said to her, I was like, girl, you're amazing. Look at what you're doing. And then she was quiet, and I was telling her, she's like, this is exactly why I call you. She's like, this is why I call you.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, what I'm like, I invite you because look, at the same time, you're going through this stuff. Now I'm inviting you to see that you're already on the path, and nothing is going to stop that. Like everything always works out for you. It always works out. It might not be what you want, right? When you want it, but it always works out. And you've got to continue to say that to yourself, even when it doesn't look like it's happening like that.
Hmm.
you know, because you know, like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and you could just look from your past, right? And she's like, yeah. I was like, you've seen it happen, right? And she's like, yeah. Where miracles just show up in your life when you're like, what? And she was like, yeah. It's like, so if you're creating miracles, what makes you think the miracles will stop? They still happen. But you don't see them because you stuck in the circumstance.
Focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, you're in the circumstance. You're uncomfortable in circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I was like, you got to get comfortable with where you are,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is where you don't want to be. That's hard, girl.
You got to figure out why you're there.
Exactly.
What are you there for? If you
Right.
just focus on what you're there for, then you will probably get what you're there for faster, and then you can leave and go on to the next thing.
Exactly.
So why are you there?
Yeah, you got to get reconnected to, and I think that that's the, I mean, for myself, that is literally what I've been doing for the last 6 months, is like creating a practice for myself
Mm-hmm.
to remember who I am, you know. And so that's what that's what I keep on putting out into the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even when the you know, even when stuff happens that I wasn't expecting, you know, that's life.
Yep.
It's life, girl. So
That's the part that's coming to teach you. So now it's like, all right, cool. What is it teaching me?
exactly. So this came at such a
Hold
good.
on 1 second. Let me close this door. My dog just came back in. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it's wide open.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
She clearly lives her own life. It is a little hot out there, huh? Okay, yeah, she just came and laid on the. I'm like, okay, you want to go close the door? It's
No,
hot
that's
out.
what you're for. That's
Right, clearly.
your job,
That's
human.
my job.
You close the door.
Please, Louise. Oh, but what were you saying?
Girl, I don't remember.
But you know what I was thinking
What I
too?
was
I think that's what keeps us on our path, like the physical one, the world, the one outside of us, is that, and what keeps us, choosing us in our day to day. It's the internal work. I feel like we just always come back to it. It's deciding to choose ourselves like every day internally. And it's just the inside mirroring the outside. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed, it makes sense. It should.
It does, and you know, and I I am yes, yeah, everything you just said. I think that um the work, the internal work, is, I just, like, for my life, like, I've done this work for such a long time.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have my life the other way.
Mhm.
Like, I see the like the like I've been reflecting over the last 6 months, like pretty much my whole life, right? And I used to work at this bookstore. I worked at this bookstore called Transitions Book Place. And it was literally, it was like a spiritual bookstore. And I worked there for like almost 4 years. So I always call that that's my education. Like, I've always called that like the foundation of a lot of the things that I've done in my life was because of the things that happened in that place and what I was exposed to. Just the miraculousness of the human being, and being inside of the space where I was exposed to just multitude of spirituality that I don't think most people
Whatever.
haven't ever really experienced, right? Like I didn't grow up in a Christian household. Like both of my parents were Christian, right? My mother came from a Methodist background. My father came from Jamaica, and he was very, very Christian, right? Like they're sanctified Christians,
Oh
right?
wow.
So, you know, like growing up, I'm with that, but then at the same time, he was also exposed to um, Rastafarianism too, right? So my dad was he would consider himself a Rasta. That's what he said, right? Like so, like I had this like very interesting upbringing where you know my parents kind of let me be who I was, who I am. In areas where I think was a little too much letting me be, but that's just my
You
own
said too
personal.
much independence.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just how I feel about it. But I can't, you know, I can't get mad at it. You know what I mean? Because it led me to who I am right now.
Yeah.
And so like I never got mad at them. There are moments where I was frustrated with them, of course. I think
Because you felt like you wanted more what?
I like I didn't get much attention as a child.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Like my parents focused a lot on whatever they were going through in my sister.
Got
And so I was left alone a lot. And at the same time, I actually, from what I recall, I actually asked to be alone. So
Mm.
that's the other part is like,
So they gave you what you asked for.
I yeah, exactly. I didn't want to be a part of what they were doing, but I did. But I wanted it to be the way I wanted it to be. But
Ah,
that's what I got later on in life.
is
And
what.
when I let all of that go and I just accepted my parents for who they were. But I've been really kind of, you know, going back in my life and looking at it. So I'm coming from a perspective where I've literally created who I am from nothing.
Hmm.
Um, and have gone through life unscathed,
Hmm.
literally. Like like I have never broken a bone in my body.
Me
You
either.
know, I have I have been in spaces where I could have died,
Same.
like a lot of
Same.
times. Even there's one particular time I think I did kind of die, but I came back.
Oh
So
well, I ain't
so like
got me there.
so you know what I mean? Like I know I'm here to do something, and I want to make sure that it's big. Um,
Yeah.
and so, you know, I keep on tapping into that, and I really tapped into it in the last 8 years, I would say. That was has created this life that I have now. So you know, like that's that bookstore I worked at. They had all those books, spirituality. That's how I learned how to talk in front of people.
Oh well.
I had to I had to I was a manager of the bookstore. I was a supervisor in the evening time, and we would have like authors that would come in and speak, and so I would introduce them. And so I didn't know, you know, like I would come in for my shift. I didn't know who was going to be, um, you know, the author of the night. I didn't know. And they would just be like, oh, Vanessa, you got to introduce the speaker
I
tonight.
would love that.
You
I,
know,
I why did I never work at a bookstore?
and so I would look at I would have to transpose something that in like an hour to like be in front of somebody, a group of people, and I, you know, they just threw me in. They were just like, "Here, this is what you got to do. Boom, do it." You know, and I was all for it. I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll do it." You know, I mean, I've, I introduced. I think I introduced Uri Geller. I don't know if you know who that is, but It's this guy who basically can bend a spoon with his mind.
Did you see him actually do that?
I don't, girl, look.
I gotta
But
see it.
my point is that I've been in front of like a lot of these interesting spiritual teachers, and I had to introduce them. And so the audience who knew me, because I was the supervisor of the store, they would critique me, and they would tell me what I needed to do. So I would introduce them, and they'd be like, okay, Vanessa, you looked at the paper too long. Maybe you should go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and practice like a few times before you, like, so I would do it. Like, I'd be like, okay, cool. So I go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and I practice a few times. Or they'd say, you're fidgeting too much, or, like, you're doing this. So they were giving me all of the critique I needed so I could be in front of people.
Yeah.
I think I got a little too powerful though. And I think the owners, they didn't like that. They didn't like it. I remember this one, and this happened after, it was so fun. After this, they gave me a promotion, and I became the shipping and receiving manager. So they put me in the back.
Out of there.
Yeah. But it was so funny. This woman came in. I came in for my shift, and this woman was talking to the owner's wife, which was his business partner. And she was like, this woman watched me. She's like, oh my God, I've been waiting for you all day. She's like, I need some help. Right. And I think after that, it was it. Because she made a scene in the store. And I think after that, the owner's wife, she did, I was getting too bright. They put me in the back, girl. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't last much longer after that, of course. I didn't stay. Like, I think I did that for a year and then I left. But I just find it so interesting that I had that experience, and it helped to shape all of the experiences that I have in my life to where I am right now.
Right now.
So, I have to love it. Like, I have to really love. I'm really getting reconnected to how much I love my life.
Yeah.
And the practice that I have, that I've been in since I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like learning to really trust it. Where I am being stretched, I know now is because me and God have been locked in. So I trust God. Right. I realized that I struggle with trusting people because now as I'm like, I'm not as trusting as I thought that I was.
There you go.
And so it's forcing me to like do it. And I'm just like, so now when something comes up and I have to like delegate something, which is why I probably never delegated.
Right. So
when I have to delegate something, I'm like, no, I could just do it because they're not going to do it like did it. And then I'm like, no, let it go. Like, let it. I'm actively learning, practicing, trusting.
Yep.
I am actively doing that. But another thing that I'm actively doing, as we talk about like just returning to ourselves again and again, I was just thinking about like all of the other versions of myself that I really enjoyed and that I would really enjoy right now. And so I'm like, I need to just get back to being well-rounded, like balanced. I feel like I've just been way too far to the right on the business side. And I have been for a long time now. So I'm like, I'm just going to get back into balance. And it's just been dope to do. Like I went to Pilates with my homegirl on Thursday after having a full day of just like working and, stuff like that. It just felt good to meet up with my homegirl downtown and go do Pilates, and just, it's just been little things like that, just pulling up on my friends, like kicking it in the yard and not talking about work at all, but then getting to it a little bit because it all connects, but then just having a good time. Like, And then even with the Pilates, that kind of like really shifted my mind, because all the instructor kept saying, this is my first time in life doing Pilates. But all she kept saying was just slow down, like go slow. Like that was the thing. And I'm just like, right, just go slow. Like it was she don't even know what she was doing for me in there. But just the whole,
she knows.
Or maybe you right. For sure she knows, because, and then even like with the swimming, like just incorporating that new thing into just doing new things. And it used to, I'm looking at myself, I'm like, man, I'm really doing new things. It feels like I'm putting it all together. Like I'm showing up as my whole self, and I'm figuring out like how to show up and do business, but also do life, like live life. You know what I'm saying? And although they connect, there's still like this really fine line that if you're not careful, you'll merge them, and then it just becomes a blur, and your whole life is just work, or this. And so it's just, and I was telling Barry yesterday, even down to like my oils, my Amber White is like the body oil I always wear. And so I'm just like, I miss people telling me I smell good, so I went and got my oil, and I was just like, he was like, oh, so you just know people go. I'm like, yeah, like I know it. And I'm back to me. Like I feel like myself again. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, again, but that's like a physical back to me. But it started like inside. You know how when people say a woman who's changed, who cuts her hair is about to change her life, I realized like that's really the opposite. That woman has already changed her life, and the cut hair is really just the byproduct of what's already changed in her. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like I can physically see that I'm choosing myself just in a different way, again, and that feels good. I'm like, yes, this feels good. This feels like this feels like balance, even though it's still, it's not 50-50, it'll never be, but I'm like, this feels good. I like this.
Yeah. I mean, balance doesn't necessarily mean
50-50.
Right. I mean, it might be 80-20, it might be 50-60 or 40-60.
Based on what you need in
right.
What your charts say, your internal charts.
But it's not all on one side.
Yeah.
And I think that what I'm hearing you say is that when you do that inner work, you tend to notice areas of your life that are crying out for, that trusting part that you said that you didn't realize that you thought you trusted people more than you actually do, right? That has something to do with the balance, right? Like the balance when you're balanced, that doesn't even come up. It doesn't. It doesn't even come up. So by you noticing that and seeing that, and then seeing that there's some things that you want to reconnect with that creates the balance, I promise you that conversation about trust won't even enter you, because you are whole and complete. You know what I mean? And I think that first you have to realize that you're whole and complete. You're always whole and complete. So for you to notice those things, it's just really you getting back in touch with the parts of you that seem fragmented, right? It's like I love coming from whole and complete. That's when I say that to myself, and if I'm not feeling that in that moment, then there is some recalibrating that has to happen in those moments to see the areas that aren't being dealt with properly, right? Or I wouldn't say dealt with properly, but it just, maybe this is in the background, right? Maybe these other things have, become precedent, and, like I just put those other things over here for a little bit, but those other things over here are just as important as these other things that I'm holding up, And I totally with you. And it's so funny that you say that, right? Because balance is like the thing I've been focusing on for the last couple of weeks. Like even exercising, like I'm exercising more. You know, I'm pretty fit for a 52-year-old woman. I was looking at myself the other day. I've gained a few pounds, but you know, I'm going through the change, and I expected that. But it's not going to be here forever. You know, like I know me enough to know that I don't, you know, getting up and exercising is not it's not hard for me to do that because I've created that muscle memory in myself that my body knows what to do. Like you know, I'll do a little high intensity interval training type of thing when I'm in, you know what I mean? I don't do it every time, but I do it, right? And I'll just start running, you know what I mean? Or, you know, like sprinting or just jogging, whatever it is. But I know I could do it though. You know what I mean? Like my body is limber enough and fit enough where I could do that, right? And so like I went to the went to the park after we talked today. I'm going, you know, I'm going to go do my, I'm getting it in, you know what I'm saying? But I had to tell myself that it's like, Vanessa, you fit, like you fit. You know what I mean? It was like good, you know. And so I'm starting my my hormone replacement therapy. I'm starting that this coming week, you know, and essentially, and you know, all it is like this cream. It's like a lotion. You just rub a little bit on inside of your arm at night. It helps. It helps with all of the, you know, symptoms,
changes,
all the changes that happen. Right? Hot flashes, which I don't have. I don't have hot flashes. It's just like aches and pains and things like that that just aren't normal. And it's hormonal, right? But that's it. And I was just like, well, I'm doing pretty good though. You know what I mean? Like I know women my age, girl, they be having, you know, like this one woman was telling me she gets really hot, you know, and I'm just like, I've literally had like maybe 10 hot flashes. Like I haven't. And she was like, that's it? And I'm just like, yeah, like I haven't had that many. And I haven't had them actually in a while. You know, it's been like a year or two. She was like, what do you mean? You know, so it's like, but you know, like I expect that of myself, you know, because I've been taking care of myself for a long time. You know what I mean? So because I'm fit, I haven't had a whole lot of, you know, a whole lot of changes, like you said. So, but yeah, just, you know, like taking care of my body, you know what I'm saying? I had to sit back and be like, why don't you look into it? You know? So that's what I did. And now I'm starting this regimen. I'm really excited about it. But I think all of these things create that balance in which you were talking about, right? It creates the space where it's like, I know my body is changing. I can't deny it. If I do, it'll just make those changes probably a little bit more uncomfortable for me. So what do I want to do? Do I want to create more comfort in my life or uncomfort? Just by me dealing with the fact that I am changing. Like I am 52. Like I'm not 42. I'm not 32. You know, I'm just like, I'm not denying my age and where I am in my life. And so like, and I actually am very proud of the fact that I'm 52 years old. Like, I'm not one of those women that gets offended or any of those things. Like, I don't really care what you think. You know, it's like I've been through a lot in my life. I've had a lot of different lives, and I'm just thankful to be here and alive, and able to move. I have eyes I can see, I have ears I can hear, I can taste, like all of my senses are here. You know, I'm just thankful that I woke up this morning and I'm able to talk to Wanaki, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I love my life. And so yes. So yeah, I just had a really good week this week.
Yeah.
So I started coaching.
I love that.
I started having a coach, not coaching people, not yet. But I got my coach back and she's been coaching me for a couple of weeks. And man, this last week, because like, so we have our like 30-minute conversation and I basically create what I want. So, like I'm really getting the two areas of my life that I haven't really been, like, I focus on all these other areas of my life, but there are two areas that I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
One is my personal finances, and the other one is my personal relationships. So, like, my committed relationship, I have not focused on that. And I'm like, I've never, when it comes to men, I just like, that's always behind in the back burner over there. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that right now. But then I thought about it and I was like, girl,
but you want it.
You gotta deal with that.
If you want it.
If
You
I
don't
want
have to deal with it, but if you want it, yeah.
Right, but if I want, but girl, look, like I want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do. But I've been lying to myself and making it like I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly what I get.
Mm-hmm.
Is a whole bunch of men that are emotionally unavailable. Because that's what I put out there. I got exactly what I got exactly.
That's good.
So I said, I want to be emotionally available. I do. So, so I said, let me work on my money, because I feel like if I work on getting my personal finances together, I really do believe that all of this will fall into place. Like all the other parts will become, it will open itself up. Right. So this past week, I created, I created like to create like this unexpected money. Right. And then inside of that is like creating a budget, like going through all my expenses. Like I went through my expenses for the last 3 months. I organized them. I created a budget, that I'm gonna stick to moving forward, right? So that was the first thing. It's like I got to know what I did. And girl, look, subscriptions. Like I got rid of tons of shit. Like paying for stuff that I don't use. I have this ton of shit. Like
one trick, I don't know if it's a trick, but one thing my cousin told me a few years ago, and I'm like, that makes sense. Is like my debit card, I literally will get a new card every so like not every year but ridiculous, but every once in a while, once stuff started getting that, well, I would before when things would get out of control. I'm like, damn, where'd that come from? Just got a new car, and then all of that shit is canceled. You can forget about it. And you know what I'm saying?
That's what I did. I did that before, but I did that at the early part of this year, and a lot of the stuff got canceled. But there's a few other things that I just wanted to see where things were going.
No, you want to do that anyway. I was just talking about the subscription part.
But you're right, though. I did that at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And so, but I found a lot of other little things that were like, $3, $5, $6. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but
they add up.
But it adds up.
Yeah.
Right? So I got rid of all of that stuff on my business side and on my personal side. So I cleaned everything up. And this week, it's crazy. I have a meeting. So last week, the week before last, it was a few weeks ago, I set up this meeting with this organization because a friend of mine that I met with, she said that they're looking for projects to invest in on the West Side. And I was like, oh shit. And so I went to the website and I saw one of their program directors, and I know him because he worked for the Department of Planning when I was managing one of the things some of the stuff I was doing. So I was like, oh, I know him. And I'm friends with him on LinkedIn. So I just reached out to him. We went back and forth. And then finally we got a meeting, which was last week. And so the week before that, they announced a grant that they are organizing or funding. And this grant is for $500,000, right? And I'm just like, shut up, right? So this is perfect. The grant came out that week. We had solidified a date, which was this past week. And so I met with them, and then my project, the Out West Gallery Cafe, fits so nicely into their into their grant. So I qualified for the grant. I went to the info session that they had, totally fit into. I was like so excited. And then I see him again at this event that I went to, and he had to tell, he's like, Vanessa, he's like, your project, he's like, I told the executive director, she's really excited, your project fits so nicely into da 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 da. You know, he's giving me the, and I'm just like, okay, cool, you know what I mean? So I was like, what? And then one of my other outcomes I was looking for was to create a new connection with a collaborative partner. And I got an invitation for this fellowship.
Is
Doing
it the one that's out of state?
Say what?
The one that you were talking about out of state?
No. This is
Okay.
actually here.
Okay.
On the west side of Chicago, and it's a community wealth building fellowship.
Nice. Okay.
Which will actually open me up to more opportunities for funding, right?
Yeah,
by going through this fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Called the Good Anchor Fellowship, right? So I'm like, oh my God, that's my second thing. That's just 2 things on a list. I had like 15 things that I accomplished in a week just by me being my authentic self. I didn't go outside myself. I actually worked from overflow. I was, when I got tired, I stopped.
Yep.
I drank a lot of water. You know what I mean? Like I exercised, like all of the things that I said.
Put it all together.
That I want from myself. It was last week.
I love that.
And so, the culmination of the week and the beginning of this next week for us to be together and to be in conversation about why we continue to choose ourselves. Yeah. It's just like, this is why I keep on choosing myself.
And then it's like, if you don't keep choosing yourself, who else you gonna choose? What are you gonna choose? Like, what are you choosing if it's not you? Like, what?
Well, I think that and this is so great that we created this platform where we're having conversation where I think a lot of people are interested in, especially those that are embarking on creating a pathway for themselves, right? Like when you become an entrepreneur or an artist or a creative or anybody who's...
You decide to follow your heart.
Exactly. Any of those things, right? You open up yourself to a whole new realm of possibility that really starts with the initial work of following your bliss or following your heart, and I think there are more and more people that are like unplugging from this societal conditioning, and they want to plug in something else that is what we're here talking about.
Yeah, I love that. But that's the question they have to ask themselves. If I'm not choosing me, then what am I choosing? Who am I choosing?
Exactly.
You got to ask yourself that.
You do.
Even who?
Exactly. And then when you realize that you're not choosing yourself,
what are you gonna do about it?
And choosing something else outside of you. Now, don't beat yourself up. Because I think a lot of people stay in the beat up self. Stop. They stop there.
How did I get there? How did I get to it's the shame and the guilt of it all.
Exactly. And the being in this shame spiral
keeps you there.
It keeps you there. And, I've known too many people Like I think my parents, to some degree, you know, where they kind of lived in that space of like I could have done or I should have, or
Mhm.
you know, and it stopped them from living, you know. And I
Mhm.
see a lot in a lot of people. Like I think most people who are addicted to some sort of drug are in that kind of shame spiral, um, because they don't want to come to terms with
Mhm.
what they created, and it's okay. Like knowing that you did it to yourself and you're willing to do the work to get yourself out of that,
Powerful.
it's powerful completely. Like it's inspiring. Not only does it inspires others to do
Mhm.
the same. So yeah, like I'm excited to continue to have these conversations,
Yeah.
right? Because it like what it does by us sharing, it creates like inspiration for me, like because I get to see me, like I
Mhm.
get to see myself, mirrored myself in you,
Mhm.
you know, and I like it excites me, and I take that and I go out in the world, you know, so it's like this reciprocity that I think that we need more in the world, like we need
Yeah.
more of these
Yeah.
exchanges,
I agree.
where we're able to heal ourselves and in turn heal the world, um
Mm.
because we need a lot of healing right now. There's a lot going on,
Man, it's a lot.
and girl, I just, you know, I'd be watching it, I just be like, wow, like we are in such a special time right now, like is so inspiring, some of the things that are happening, these movements, these young people who are running for office, like I'm like inspired, I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Mm.
it's very interesting, that the, you know, the generation, younger generation is saying fuck you, and we gonna do this thing, and I just love it. Like I'm inspired by just the boldness.
I
You know,
know. Yeah.
I just be like, that dude is so. I was like, damn.
Ah.
I mean, if somebody said that to me, I would have. Wow. Like I'm just like I just love it. I love what I'm seeing. So like I'm, you know, and on the flip side, I don't even pay attention to the flip side, right? Like I don't even like I'm reading a lot of different things, especially politically, that I think is very interesting. Um,
Mhm.
but I just like I think that this revolutionary kind of liberatory kind of like conversation that I'm hearing is like that shit is like moving me. It is moving me. I'm loving it. I am loving all of it. Um, and
It's just, yeah.
I wanted to because I know it's 11:14,
Mhm.
and you know, um I wanted to hear more about you started talking about it, but uh,
Mhm.
this could be the space where you can share about your fundraiser that you
Oh
create.
yes. So the fundraiser, the Don't Sleep on Chicago Kids fundraiser, it is. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I gotta stretch this out. I gotta work out after this. Um, so it's July 18th. The goal is 15,000 that day. So we are gonna do a paddle raise. And so far, like I think I'm close to 1,500 from people who won't be able to show up but just wanted to support, which I really appreciate. So shout out to y'all. Thank you. But the whole point is to really just get, people in the space and from my network and my community who, has been on a journey, seen the work and would love to support and, be a part of this next part of it. And so the project that I'm launching, it really comes in it's 4 phases, but for this first phase, it'll just be me going into Trinity. I don't want to say the names. Going into the school, and identifying, selecting my 4 people who will go into the high school. I'm going to train them in the first phase to build relationships and just those things. So when they do go into the school for phase 2, and they're among the community, the population, they know how to move. Because the idea is, well, I don't know how much of the thing I can say here, but the purpose of the fundraiser is to really roll out a broad overview of the project, to get people in a space so they can see what's going on. I am definitely going to tell the story of how we even got there in the first place. So I'll be showing Brittany's video, and she'll be there too, and just to show, like, the point is, let's sponsor a story. What does it look like if one story could create this? Then what does it look like to capture the stories of so many of our kids? And then, what does that look like? And so asking for support and helping to amplify a voice, amplify a story. And so I'm excited for this. It's going to be good. I got a lot of different partners on board, a lot of people ready to jump in and help. And it's taught me a lot. It's been teaching me a lot about, again, that whole myself and how I've been moving in community. And I think, this is why the whole healing journey and your personal journey and all of those things, they can't be in just isolation. Like, a part of the journey does require you to be in community. And the more that I've been in the community, the more I've seen that I've not really leveraged or been in community. You know what I'm saying? And so this has been an eye-opener for me. It's shown me how many people have been willing and waiting to support, just didn't know how, because I wasn't really talking about a lot of the things that I was doing, because I was doing it. I'm just me. I'm like, whatever it takes, that thing. And so I didn't realize the effects it's had, and so this has been opening my eye to that. And then also this idea of what it means to fundraise. Like, I'm saying 15,000 in a day, but we obviously know people do this and they do millions in a day for a fundraiser. But I was talking to Barrett again, and I'm like, how is it that we know that we should be doing these things and we don't do them? What is what's the barrier there? Even as we were creating the invitations, and the person who's helping me, she was just like, yes, I think there should be a suggested minimum donation of $150. I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, just on the invitation, like, put that. And she's like, yeah, why not? Be upfront. And the way she was just saying it was so, like, casual, and it just showed me, like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm growing into. Like, this is what I need to be. So it's showing me, right now, like, yeah, you got work to do, because this is it. But the work is really just going through the process and, completing it.
You're doing the work.
That's the work. The work is just moving forward. And even with all the feelings, but I'm excited for the fundraiser. I'm excited because initially I was only able to just, get videos here and there, right? And so the whole idea is to build this campaign and really push it. And what I needed was a machine, and now I got it. And so I'm grateful for the people that's willing. They're my elevation partners. So for the people that's helping me elevate, and not just me elevate, but helping to elevate the voices and the stories of our Black kids. And specifically in Chicago, because of the narrative we get, this is important. And in addition to that, what they're supporting directly is a dual program that I'm creating between a high school and a college. So we're creating a direct pipeline as well. So then we start to get into like that educational, piece. And so it's scalable. And I can see, and that's why when I was telling you, I'm like, oh, I can see this. Like this, it's scalable. So it makes it really attractive too. And so I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm like realizing, like, oh my God, like I'm her, like I'm really doing the thing. And I've just been wrapping my mind around it lately, but it's just all been aligned. And I'm just like, listen, it's scary, but it's the next step. It's the only thing that makes sense, it's the only thing that makes sense. Our children's stories deserve to be told fully, because we do experience adversity, but that's not where it stops. And we keep stopping our stories there. And then what is the messaging that we send to, what I'm saying? What are the kids picking up about themselves? What are they seeing? And so, you know, I think I know it's gonna be powerful, and I know it's gonna be powerful. It is. It just keeps blowing my mind to think that all of this is just came from me, just an idea to do a hoodie. And this is why I always tell, why I'm feel not always tell people, but what I'm learning for myself now is I'm very grateful that God didn't give me what I thought I wanted, because this was something that I literally could not have imagined. And this is why it's so important to just have faith and trust the process, and to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and to trust the uncertainty, not because you just are fully trusting yourself, but because you trust in God too. Like, you know, that whatever you can't see, God got you, because God has always had you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you just got to trust your journey, your path, and know that it will come. It's going to make sense when it does. And when it does, it's like, you know.
Yeah, I got a lot. That was wow. That, I mean, you know, like you and you like opening yourself up. Like, you said something twice today, and you said, like, you know, like, it's scary, like you said about the uncertainty, and then when you said about fundraising, and but you said, but you still got to move through it, right? You still got, and so, like, so what I heard you say was, like, fear is an indicator of where you should move through.
Yes.
Right. And I think so many times in my life, I know where fear stopped me. The blessing comes to me when it happens again, and I
Push through.
and I say to myself, I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, like, that doesn't happen too often. Like, opportunities come. The blessing for me is, like, the opportunities have come to me more than once for me to, like, step into those spaces. I think it's important to identify the fear, because 9 times out of 10, I mean, if you know, like, if it's not going to, like, hurt your body, right? Let's be clear. But, like, I think that, you know, like, by you moving through that is what continues to, like, create like strength, right? Like, because it gives you the strength and the perseverance to continue to do the work, because you are becoming, right? As you're in this kind of flow, you're, like, becoming. It's like you get, like, an added layer of protection or something around you, that so when you get to the next space and the fear is there, because the fear is going to come, right? Because you know it's gonna come.
Yep.
But you have this layer on you where it's like, I know I could get through this. I see the fear, parent, and I know, because of me going through that last thing, shield of protection around me, I know I'm gonna go through that fear, and now on the other side of it is going to be just everything and more, right? Because it's never what, like, girl, it's like, I'm just thinking, like, when you shared, I was just like, man, that reminds me of so many times where I've stuff like it, I'm just gonna do it, and, you know, stayed up all night or something.
Just do it, yeah. And it's just like,
wrote something, and next thing I know, I got what I asked for, and then I got this and that and this and that and this and that too. And so, yeah, I mean,
and then the beautiful thing in just doing it is then you start to see people show up, which then builds more confidence, which makes you want to reach out to more people, and you see it starting to. It's just I mean, it's been a beautiful, like, process, because it's just like, to think that this has always been here, like, in my ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? It's been here. And I don't think that it was a rush, because I think things had to happen this way, because then the story wouldn't even be that dynamic if it happened sooner. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, to think like how much of our ecosystem are we just not utilizing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And being frustrated by it at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yep. Divine timing, and you have everything that you need.
Yeah.
You have everything that you need right within you. And I realized that I was going through my phone, and in my I have like 1,600 contacts. Phone. And I was just like, now if I take, even if I say, okay, half of them are repetitive or they're no longer in use, let's just say half of them aren't, the person that's in this phone name is not going to answer on the other line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that still leaves 800 contacts.
That's so rich.
And I was like, girl, that's insane. What if you just started today and just started calling everybody in your phone
Mm-hmm.
and just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need, right? And I said, well, Vanessa, that it sounds like that's something for you to do. You know what I mean? And so like, and not it, like, and not, and it's scary in a way, right? Because it is like I gotta have the actual what I'm calling people for. I gotta have that down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't just randomly call people and be like, hey, how are you? Like I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I really want to be intentional.
Yeah,
Um,
you should be intentional
yeah.
because you don't want to do that.
But here's the other thing that I noticed too. Like I did this a couple of times where I just called people and just like I called one of my friends. I think I told you this, and I just was like, I miss you. I just want to talk. Like I just wanted to see how you're doing. And he was like, wow, like, thank you. You know what I mean? And so like that is another thing that like people,
Invest in your relationships.
right? Like relationships are so important. And, like like even just connecting with folks that I haven't connected with in a while, might be interesting too. But yeah, girl, like the point of that is that I have at least 800 people in my phone that I have not connected with in a while. And, I could call to reconnect with in a multitude of different ways. So that showed me that I got everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just one thing. You know what I mean? It's like there are all these other spaces. Like, and I'm going to share this one last thing because it came up for me in my coaching call. And one of the things I'm creating is to feel cared for.
Hmm.
And so I went to this event on Thursday, and I got there right when they were doing they had started the program, and I stood at a high top table, and because they had a bunch of tables, and I was just in the open area, like I didn't have a table seating. So they're just like, oh, you can sit in the open area, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so, which was fine with me because I don't like sitting at tables anyway because I get really fidgety. I like to move around. And so, but I stood at this high top table, and this girl that I know, right? She came and she's like, oh my God, Vanessa. She's like, Vanessa, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, Vanessa, so, she's like, do you need a seat? She's like, I have a seat at my table. You want to come sit? And I was just like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And so I sat at the table just for a few minutes. I got up and moved around. But I felt so cared for in that moment. Like somebody saw me, they came up to me, they invited me to sit down at their table. And then it happened again. Like somebody, you want to sit at my table? I got seats. You want to sit down? And I was just like, I'm moving around. I'll sit down.
Mm-hmm.
But in that room, the people that I knew in that room, girl, I was like, and people were coming up to me, hey, this one came up to me. I for the life of me can't remember his name. remember his face, but I'm just like, oh shit, what's that dude's name? And so like, and then giving me opportunities. Hey, that that RFP should be coming out soon. If you want to write for it and all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
It's
is.
already
So
here. That's it.
it's all right here, and I didn't have to do anything. I got that invitation for free. I didn't ask for it. Somebody invited me. I went. I was just like, yes, I'm gonna be accepting this award for the Out West Gallery and Cafe when I'm complete with it. I'm going to, and I'm like, girl, I'm just like, wow, like I'm excited for us.
Yeah, the power of choosing you
Over and over again.
over and over again, because you have to.
And here's the thing. And so like I know we talked about this, but I'm in the process. So I've gotten my outline done for my book.
Period.
And I haven't started writing, but I'm gonna start this coming week. I completed a class. I was taking this class on wholesale products.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited again to be a part of this class. At first, I didn't really see what wholesale product I could create, but since I had already been in the process of creating this book,
Mm-hmm.
opened me up to like all these other things that I wasn't even thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to this class, and basically they explained and shared what wholesale is,
Mm-hmm.
what that world looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, because I got other ideas of other products and different, like different streams of funding, right? Different ways for me to make money. Where
Like white labeling and stuff like that.
yeah, and not just, but they're passive, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
having to actually work. Like I'm looking for passive streams of funding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm like, oh, this is great, So I was able to refine and dive into like this wholesale class where I've created this book, and with the book comes a journal.
Mm-hmm.
Will also be electronic, but then it also serves as a as a um, as a tool for me to use and when I'm coaching clients, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm pivoting my business away from well, I should say I'm pivoting my business into um, just working with groups and individuals rather than organization.
Organizations. Yeah.
Because I see that is a great way for me to get the income that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not, in the organization, like doing like all this like hands-on stuff. So I'm really excited about this. So the book is called 5 Steps to a Self-Discovered Life. And what we talked about today really aligns with one of the areas that will be in the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really we've talked about this again, surrendering to the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is essentially what we kind of talked about today, in like continuing to choose yourself again and again.
Yeah.
About surrendering to the journey that you have chosen for yourself,
Yeah.
that create this life that you see that's possible, right? So so it's so perfect that we talked about this, and also sharing some of the areas that we're moving into.
Yeah. When is it going to come out? What are you thinking?
When is it going to come out, you said?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Like I've never written a book before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, I don't know how long it's going to take me to write it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving myself July.
Oh, soon.
yeah, I'm giving myself a couple of 3 months to write the book.
Okay. That's good.
And then, like, but also, there's all these other parts that go with it too, right? Like, it comes to marketing and publishing and printing and then also the courses that I'm creating from that.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the tool. So I'm working on like different spaces too, right? To move this like tool through. So I'm looking to do some executive coaching, some group coaching, some individual coaching. So all of those parts, just like also working. So maybe by the beginning of next year, maybe. I'm thinking.
That's still soon. I love that. So right now it's just like prepping and getting everything
Yeah.
order to make that move.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to, like, I really don't know, but it's I just want to be intentional with like the parts and making sure that they are well-rounded, right? And um and by making sure that they're well-rounded and they make sense and they fit in things, but I don't want to wait too long because then I don't want to get stopped by this. So very excited to write this book. I'm
excited for it.
Yeah, I've been told a few times, like, when I see you should write a book, you should write a book. So I'm like, okay, well, this is what to me, like, and so it's going to be like a memoir. So I'm going to share like parts of my life that coincide with the different steps. But like, I've realized like a lot of people just don't know what I've been through, right? To get me here, it's like, like, you don't understand it. I'm just like, dude, like I've had many lives, like many lives over the last 52 years. And, I want to share that, what got me to this space. And I'm, like, I'm still becoming too at the same time. Like, I'm not fully baked, like I think humans think that there's like this thing you got to get to, right?
Yeah, will we ever be?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think you're fully baked when you die, like, I think that, like, that's the end, you know what I mean? But I want to, like, I see myself at the end and I see myself with my people around me. You know what I mean? That's how I've always seen the end of my life, is old and with loved ones. And so, I kind of working back from that, what is a life fulfilled look like, right? And it's brought me to writing this book. I'm excited, to share my life, but then also give people a tool to step into their own life, right? To step into a space where they see possible for themselves, and using some of the things I've gone through, some of the structures that I put in place to create this life. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Let's start to wrap this up. I got to go grocery shopping for my granny Sunday. But you know what? I like this because my Sundays are really like slow. So I'm like, if I'm gonna go grocery shopping on any other day, Sunday will be it. I can do it. So I'm excited for it. But great. As we wrap this up, what is like your takeaway from this conversation? Just what is something that you would offer to someone who may be struggling to choose themselves again and again?
I think the most important thing is, for choosing yourself is giving yourself some grace. I think that grace is such an important part. Grace and patience, and and then accomplishments, right? Like noticing like like your own growth
Yeah.
to the person that that you want to create in life. I think that's it's a consistent thing, and just give yourself some time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's some things take a little bit more time, and
Mhm.
some things you might have to put down for a little bit, and pick them up later. But trust that, right? Trust that
Mhm.
that process is yours, and everything happens in divine timing, right? So don't like beat up on yourself if it
Yeah.
hasn't as fast as you wanted to. Maybe there's some other things that you need to focus on in that moment. So it's kind of like a non-attachment type of thing. So
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, that's what I would say. Like, which was a lot.
No, I agree. Because I would echo what you said in terms of just really giving yourself grace and being patient with yourself on a journey, because you really just have to build the habit of choosing yourself. Like most people just are not in the habit of it. So then, if you are raised, if you happen to be raised by somebody who's not in the habit of doing it, you might have developed the habit of not doing it as well. And so really you are just undoing the habit. So the only way to undo it is to choose it. So when you are faced with an opportunity to choose yourself, and you typically know it because you'll say something like, I really don't feel like doing this, or I should say no, I don't know why I said, when you catch yourself doing the thing that you're gonna do when you don't really want to do something, then that's your invitation to choose you. That's your invitation to choose you, and you just build the habit. So then the next time it comes up, you do it again. And if you don't do it again, it's okay, because then that's when consistency comes in. Just because it's gonna keep coming up. You're gonna keep having the opportunity to choose yourself. You're gonna keep having it. So you just gotta keep practicing saying yes to you.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you will have built a habit of doing it, and it'll be an automatic thing. You won't even remember when it switched from manual to automatic, but it will, if you just stay consistent. So you got to give yourself grace, because otherwise you're going to beat yourself up and shame yourself to death, and then you're not going to grow. You're not going to choose yourself, because you're going to be so caught up on why you didn't choose yourself again and how you let yourself get in that situation again. But if you just can stay away from the guilt and the shame of it all, you cannot make yourself right or wrong. Give yourself grace and just keep practicing. You'll do it. That's what I think.
Yep. I think so too.
I think you'll do it. This was good. Okay, so this was good. I enjoyed this week. Thank
Yeah.
you for being flexible with
Yeah.
me. I'm growing into this new life, but I appreciate you. I love you dearly, and I look forward to these conversations. I do.
Me too. Me too. Yes. I do look for, it's a good setup for my week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yep.
get to get clear about just who I am, and
Yep.
continue to remember, and bringing that back into the space. It really solidifies for myself that this person right here is on the journey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm having a wonderful, fantastic, exciting time. Like I
Yeah.
love I love it. I just love my life. I'm
Yes.
just so much fun.
Yeah.
It does. So thank you. Thank you for being here and continuing to share these moments with me.
Yes. This is great. Well, you have a great week.
Thank you, you
I
too.
will talk to you throughout it.
Yes.
All right. Have a
All right.
good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's end this, and we are going to be out. Well, let's see how long it's going to keep me streaming.